And tonight, more concerns over whether hackers could have infiltrated former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's personal email account. Secretary Clinton playing down some of those risks in a 2011 interview.
How many people have your personal email address? Do you use your BlackBerry a lot? Do you like technology? Are you good at it?
You know, I'm okay for someone of my generation. I'm okay, but no, I have a lot of security restraints on what I can and can't do, but I do try to stay in touch as much as possible, and electronically is by far the easiest way to do that.
Clinton admitting she placed limits on the contents of her emails, but those self-imposed limits not enough to keep critics silent about the security risk. And tech expert David Kennedy joins us. Good evening, David.
Evening, Greta. Good to see you again.
Good to have you. So tell me, as you look at this story, what do you see?
Well, there's a few things that we know right away. First is that the clintonemail.com domain was registered a week before she was confirmed as Secretary of State. And so when you look at that, you know that there's a lot of things that go into that. And she has more technology than I do at my house. She has servers that house her own email. She has, firewalls in place. But at the same time, they haven't been locked down. There's a website called SSL Labs where if you go to and you point it at a website, it gives the site security a grade F for implementation. So not good when it comes to being able to lock it down, at least secure communications.
Can you tell who set it up?
Well, that's the thing. If you look at where it was registered to, it goes to an individual address inside of New York, and there's been reports that it's actually down to her house individually with a potentially false name used to register it, which no one can find any identity of this individual that registered the site. So it doesn't appear that that it was anybody, at least on the outside, that did. It was probably somebody within her own camp that set it up. And it's a pretty sophisticated setup, so it would definitely require a lot of IT folks to actually go in and set this type of technology up.
You say false name. Do you know that it's a false name? And is this sort of? Is there anything? When I hear false name, of course, my radar goes up on that one. Or is that the way? Is that the way when you set things up, you use some sort of alias, made-up name? Or tell me about this false name business.
Well, there's two rationale of thought. Whenever I register, a website or I'm looking at housing my own email, I do what's called privacy, which protects my identity online. In this case, that wasn't done. It was registered with a specific name that was used instead of using built-in features like privacy features. I know that based on what she was able to install on her Outlook web access, she used GoDaddy as the primary use for issuing certificates. So she could have just clicked the check mark that would have done who is privacy, which wouldn't have allowed anybody to actually identify the identity. Instead, an actual name was put into the place there, which doesn't appear to be referenced anywhere. There isn't any LinkedIn accounts or anything public-wise of that individual name that we were able to identify.
You say GoDaddy. That's what I use for Greta.com. Is that what she's got at home? You say that she has GoDaddy. Is that? That's what I have. Is that a big deal, or
Well, GoDaddy has a number of services, so they have the ability to do what's called SSL certificates, which allow you to browse a website securely. So she just purchased that there, but the hardware itself, the servers, there's a big-time firewall there called Fortinet that's in front of there. All of those seem to be pointing to where her house location's at, which is a lot of IT infrastructure.
And is that a physical entity? My GoDaddy is just to support Greta.com and GretaWire.com. Does she have something at home, like something physical?
Absolutely. Physical servers, physical firewalls that are all sitting there. You can actually go to one of her sites that has what's called a VPN tunnel, where she could actually VPN into her environment to create a secure tunnel so she couldn't be eavesdropped upon.
Does it look like it's integrated with Clinton Global Initiative in any way? Could she be sort of piggybacking about what was already there, or is this something just uniquely to her?
This looks uniquely to her. What way we can tell that is based on what are called IP addresses, or think of it as your home address to your house. We can kind of look at where those servers are at and how they communicate, and they're completely separate addresses that end up going to these different locations. So it looks to be a completely new infrastructure that was set up a week before she was confirmed.
All right. Easier to hack into than the State Department, or harder?
So here's the dilemma you run into. There's two major problems. First is, the federal government hasn't been known as being the most secure by any stretch. I mean, we've seen what's happened with the IRS and the lowest learner emails. We've seen prior to that with healthcare.gov. They're not very good when it comes to security, but they have an infrastructure in place. They have dedicated folks towards security to making it better. And that also includes the ability to, retrieve backups, actually recover data, things like that. When you move that out to somebody else's infrastructure, to their own personal at their home, you lose all of that functionality, that ability to restore backups, to prove that any of that information was there. Security becomes a really big challenge.